questions. Peter.
Well, the big drivers for Africans turning more to bushmeat, as far as I know, were at least three: increased competition for increased population, European fishing boats cleaning out the former sources of fish and other marine foods along the coast, and exploitative operations from other countries driving the natives of these countries further into the woods in places where there were no other supplies. So what I wanted to ask is, did you get any sense that the 1.1 million relatively rich people who signed this petition asking those poor Africans to give up bushmeat were willing to give up anything themselves to help them to achieve a kind of stability or to find alternative sources of food? Or did it amount, as many conservation lessons do, to a kind of a lecture about what they should and shouldn't do to feed their families and survive?
That is a very good question. And of course, that is something we wanted to push forward. It's not only to raise awareness and to force the parliament to decide something. We thought they would go further. I'm not sure whether they did it. So the rich, you mentioned that several times, the United States, the Western world, they are the rich countries. And they have to offer a chance to the people in these poorer and underdeveloped countries, as we call them, that they have an opportunity. You know, the barley miner you saw in the talk of Gloria, I did start the breeding program for this bird when I was still a student. But honestly, if I would have 10 children and I could get $1,000 US for an illegal caught bird in the wild, I do not know what I would do if I have no other option. So what we have to do is we have to get a sustainable way, and we have to make it in a way that everyone can get an income. And it works. So we have started, for example, Cologne Zoo in '99, a project in Vietnam, and we started to pay the people working for us. So they developed, and now it's where we started. It is a World Heritage Site. People go there and they have an income. They are now interested to keep the animals alive. And it's very contradictory, but we have that in Southern Africa. Why are there the large mammals still alive? Because there are crazy people like me going over there and pay a lot of money to get pictures, or other crazy people to shoot them. So they have a worth for the people. And that is something, of course, we have to be aware of. And yes, but that cannot be done via a zoo, not mainly. That has to have political influence, that we have to build up the possibility that they have a good life wherever they live. And it's not just, but on the other side, you have to say, you know, what we did here in sanctuaries to our country, because I'm always asked in Vietnam, how many bears do you have in Germany? And I have to say, sorry, we had the last one in 2006. We were not able to live with him, so we shot him. But they can do now things where we needed hundreds of years in half a year. They can destroy habitats immediately. So, but yes, but that is a political thing. That is something we have to teach as well. They need to have an outcome.
And Mark?
Think about what would happen if Germany were consuming its fair share of what the world produces according to its number of people, and the likelihood in any imagination of that happening.
Yes. Thank you, Peter. I think we raised this question already this morning, and I know we are looking for answers here, but yes, we try to find some. Mark, you...
Yeah, just in response to Peter's question earlier about the bushmeat in Europe, a big part of the signature campaign was actually about the EU strengthening we had a huge amount of illegal industrial-scale, unsustainable bushmeat from Africa coming into Europe for Africans living in Europe to eat, and the big part of the campaign was actually to stop that, not at source within Africa.
Just a quick comment to Peter's remark. So, while I wasn't alive, in the 1950s, the Europeans had a lifestyle and a diet roughly complying with a one world consumption pattern. It was, one might also want to argue, a time in Europe where, at least in large parts, democracy was flourishing and so on and so forth. So, people were not dying of starvation in the 50s either. So there has been a recent time where the world could live within its means, even in Germany, but the questions are absolutely solid and valid to ask.